Yo, what's up, guys? Um, I'm making this video because I want to kind of open my build up to the community and possibly seek advice, help, um, and as well as just maybe show what I'm dealing with in POE2. Now we all know new season's coming out. Super excited for that. Because I'm really excited for a lot of the balance changes that they're doing. I think they're making some improvements to the tree. It's going to be fun. My current enjoyment with the game has just been theory crafting builds and really just enjoying the aspect of that. I know in game it's lackluster. Anyway, look, enough about that. We can make a separate video about that. This video, this is my Witchhunter, and I have really tried to be not super meta about this build. My guy is a armor breaking Herald of Blood guy, which is definitely not meta. Meta right now is just like if you're not using lightning, you're doing it wrong. So I kind of am, I don't know how to call this build, but it's definitely ethical in the sense that there's no lightning cheese going on, which I think is getting nerfed. Maybe not enough next patch, but it's definitely getting nerfed. So I made a video and I was using this spell, which is Siege Cascade. I really like it, but one of the problems with that spell is that there's a delay, right? You fire it, goes up in the air, it does an initial hit and then an explosion. When you are doing something like Delirium, or you have a juiced map and stuff is literally like flying at you, you really need to be hitting that stuff before it hits you. And so that's why I have done this transition, and I'll show you this. Look, I'm not trying to do any crazy maps. I have a somewhat juiced map here. I'm not, super knowledgeable in in-game stuff, so maybe this is a disaster, but we'll see. One of the problems with this build is bossing. It's not that great, and that's what I'm trying to work on and trying to figure out. This build does have Headhunter. That's the only quote-unquote good unique that people seem universally agreed upon of worth running. So what we're doing is we're doing armor-piercing rounds. We have Nova projectiles and we have chain. Now you can take chain off, or ricochet, I think is what it's called. I'm not sure. I can look that up in a second. And the idea is that when you're in these tight maps, your projectiles are, 50% chance to chain off terrain and hit other targets. Oh, we're getting in a tight situation here, and I'm dead. Nice. So, like I said, it's reliant upon Headhunter, so you kind of want to kill rares. The map previous to this, I did find no issues. So let's look at the skill. So I'm using Ricochet, Nova projectiles, rapid attacks, armor explosion. Now I was also playing with Uric smelting. I kind of like this because it's just another explosion, and when it does that, it's probably going to inflict bleeding. We can try with another map. Let's just Alk and go. Great, I don't care about Delirium. We're not farming anything, we're literally just trying to build craft. Okay, we're gonna do the same map. Oh, I have this one. Let's go. Okay. I've done several iterations of this. there's so much randomness in this game that you can't really prepare for, that this is why I kind of went with Rapid Shot over Siege Cascade. And I have another spell or ability, this one, and that's just going to be our rare deleter and also our bossing ability. It's high velocity rounds. Now, we're a Herald of Blood user, as you can see. Lots of blood explosions. The blood explosions apply corrosive poison to stuff, and then those... Well, that guy was trucking me. And then those, since it applied poison, it also is applying that bleed to other things, and so it's just kind of chaining around. And so our armor-piercing rounds are causing other explosions, bleeds. We want to have everything armor exploded because we're physical dealing as our primary form of damage, and bleed scales off of physical damage. I'm not sure if armor has an impact on actual bleed, but another thing, we're running a lot of movement speed. I was running momentum on my skills, but I took it off for more damage. Momentum lets you... Where's the bad guy? Let's see. Oh, there he is. Okay, so now we can kind of see... Look, it does, like, really decent damage. And it's a little bit RNG. Like... Okay, here's a big one. But, like, you know, they'll, like, be hit, you hit them again, they kind of maybe take some more damage. And then sometimes you just delete it. So it's kind of funny. So the next season is hopefully going to bring some more balance changes to Witchhunter. I'm not running Decimating Strike because I'm not doing upfront big hits. You know, I'm not using some of the more shotgun type abilities. So Decimating Strike would really benefit you there. I don't want to do the boss just yet. Because I'm doing a lot of rapid strikes, I think Decimating Strike would not be as good. And this is just, has no scientific basis. This is purely vibes. So if you have experience in this, please let me know. So we are using the Witchhunter Cull ability where it's, we're using straight up Cull, or Culling Strike, but we are using Zealous Inquisition. And then we are going full into Sorcery Ward. Now, if you didn't know, Sorcery Ward is getting a big buff in the next patch. And it will apply to all forms of damage. So physical, chaos. And the great thing about Sorcery Ward is damage from hits. So I'm reading this with future patch notes in mind. Damage from hits is taken from this buff before your life or energy shield. So it's got, 4,700 life pool there. And then you can run an evasion-based build, what I'm doing, or you could run an energy shield. And so the Sorcery Ward is absorbing all of that before the rest of your mitigation. So one of the interesting things that I was trying to think about is trying to go for damage is taken from mana, because in this build, if you notice, our mana is still pretty relatively high. We really don't use a lot of mana unless we're using our bossing ability. So I think just going off of vibes here, I think it would be really cool to do an evasion-based build with Sorcery Ward, which Sorcery Ward scales off of armor and evasion. So you could run, you know, big evasion chest, some armor stuff, or you could just go full evasion, in my opinion. I don't know the math on it. And then, let's just teleport to the boss. And then you could do damages taken from mana before life. And I'll just show you some of my idea on that. So I'm instilled this, so we get more attack speed while we're not on low mana. So because we're doing a rapid type attack, you know, that's good for us. And 8% of damage is taken from mana before life. But you can do mana before. There's several of these notes. You got this one, mana before life and more intelligence. So this would be pretty cool to go for, as well as if you could go for these. That's a pretty big path, though, and I'm not sure I could get away with it doing some of my other stuff or my other tech. But this is the big keystone. It's on the completely opposite side of the tree. I'm not sure how I would be able to get this. Mind over matter. There may be a unique out there that I could look into. But that would be choice. All damage is taken from mana before life. 50% mana recover less from mana. Who cares? Like, we would just, like, we still have like 1,000 mana pool. We haven't really spec'd into it. So that's another 1,000 damage that goes to here before our life. So we're evading most attacks, or we're not, our evasion is cut down because of Sorcery Ward. So Sorcery Ward is absorbing everything, goes to then the damage would go to mana, and then it would come to our life. So you'll see how bad bossing is. And I say bad, like, you know, builds are considered bad if they aren't like one-tapping bosses, which lightning builds can. You can do shock burst rounds and delete bosses. So the idea, first off, not to die, but you want to break the armor, and then you want to apply this, which is the Riven armor. Then you can do emergency reload, empower your abilities. I like to keep the armor broken, and then you go back to your bossing ability. And you can see, it's like, it's trucking, right? You know, we're not, like, going to be here for forever, but we aren't one-shotting. Now, you know, we do have Culling Strike on. There's massive bleed going on. But you still have to play the fight. And so that is where my character is at. That was a 15. That was a boss. You know, is it the Arbiter of Ash or anything like that? No, but that's where the build is at. I guess I can show some of the some of the gear. So what I want is the reduced movement speed penalty from using skills while moving. Helmet is pure defenses. Gloves, I wanted leech physical attack damage as life and attack speed. I know I don't have +8 to skills. It is what it is. And this one you want reduced movement speed penalty from using skills while moving. So that allows us to move relatively quick while firing. Just more defenses on rings. Ideally, I think you'd want to have just, you know, lots of offensive stuff on your rings. And of course, like I said, we do have Chakra of Thought. Now, this is not a perfect amulet or anything like that. Gear is not amazing. My crossbow, this is a 9-10 div crossbow as of like last week. I'm not sure what this would be like on League Starter, but we do have Onslaught on this. Level of attack skills. So, you know, lots of physical damage. We don't care about elemental damage because we're converting, or our bleed is based off of physical damage. And because of bleed, This is where I need help personally trying to figure this out. But I've looked at POB and I looked at damage in the game, and it seemed to suggest that this is better. So bleeding we inflict is aggravated, base bleeding duration is 1 second. Now, why is this good? When we are mapping, this bleed is a big time bleed. Let me pull up POB. I don't want you to just trust me, bro. All right, hang on. I'm importing my guy. Okay. So if we select, I feel like I'm doing this right. Armor piercing rounds. The bleed DPS is 1500. So each bolt is applying a 1500 bleed. I believe that is what it's saying. If it's not saying that, maybe I'm just completely wrong. It also has armor explosion here. Is armor explosion applying bleed? I am completely wrong on that, I guess. It is doing some coal, some combined DPS, some AoE. Or maybe this is not correct. I don't know what to believe. But having the bleed on here really helped. So, yeah. I'm not sure exactly how to even use POB correctly. I'm literally just trying to do the best I can and learn the game. These nodes seem to increase DPS. We don't care about chance to inflict bleeding because I don't know why that's a thing. Why run chance to inflict bleeding on critical hit? Like, you have 100% chance to inflict bleeding. I don't know why they have this in the game. Maybe it's so that you wouldn't have to run bleed. Correct me if I'm wrong. Magnitude of bleeding is good, and we want to inflict it with crits because of this node. We have more critical hit chance against bleeding enemies. We don't care about the secondary part about this, 20% chance to aggravate. Our bleeding is always aggravated, which means it's like sped up. The only other thing to juice bleeding that I've taken is this. Damaging ailments deal damage 12% faster, so we have a lot of... And we have magnitude of ailments. This could possibly take in... well, we don't care about duration because it's only going to be 1 second. This does have more damage with hits against enemies affected by ailments, so that could be good. And it does have magnitude. So this is possibility, and maybe I should look at testing that. Other things about the build. We went into crossbow. It seemed to be a net DPS gain. If you want, you can run fresh clip. This is a potential DPS boost. I am saying armor piercing rounds. I am saying you don't necessarily need to, because the ricochet and the nova projectiles combined with bleed, armor explosion, rapid attacks, all of this is going to do enough damage for mapping that the fresh clip, yes, it will boost everything, you just won't need it. We want to increase our cull as much as we can and our damage against rares, because or unique enemies. That's where we struggle, is with the bossing with the rares, which we are using our high velocity rounds for. Don't worry about this. I was playing around with something, but more movement speed here. More attack damage, more everything. Over here, more movement speed, more reload speed. We like fast reload speed. This is also a potential major DPS increase if you're running fresh clip. more movement speed over here. And here's my opinion on movement speed. Movement speed is a defense. If you can move out of stuff or move while firing, you get to live. You can more easily dodge things. Things are not going to hit you. That is it. It is a defense. It is not the only defense you should have, but it is a defense. If you have accuracy, then now you have attack speed, so it's really good here. I didn't take this. I don't want to be close to enemies. I did take this. I want to be far away from enemies. And last but not least, we have 40% increased fizz damage while affected by Herald of Blood. So, yeah, that's why we didn't go for decimating. That's why we have culling, and that's why we went sorcery ward. And we're at 50 evasion, and we're capped on every. We're almost capped. So, yeah, if there are any suggestions, let me know. Appreciate it. Y'all have a good one.